Welcome to the Wilderness Attitude Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Waddell. I hope everybody's having a great day. Hope everybody's striving to better themselves and get out there and take the world by storm. And if not, then you can live vicariously through our series in Alaska. The last 3 or 4 weeks, I've been getting to know these men and women. It's just been amazing learning about Alaska, some little things here and there, learning about these people, learning about what makes them tick, what makes Alaska so great. And I really hope that you guys are enjoying this Alaska trip that we're on. Maybe if you're not going to make it to Alaska and hunt or go there to fish or whatever, maybe it's opened your eyes that, man, I need to do better here. I need to be better every day. Enjoy these podcasts. These men and women are great. Kick back, tune in, and enjoy. This is Brandon with Wilderness Attitude Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Hope everybody's having a kick-ass day. I know for myself, it started off hunting this morning with my daughter, looking for a nice buck, and I sure do like waking up with the birds, even though it was a little cool this morning, but we got a front coming in now, so it's supposed to get really cold, so that might help us out a little bit. I need to kind of beg everybody to kind of go out and give us some reviews. You can hit us on Instagram or send us a email to our website. That'd be great. We're trying to move our way up the list so that we can be more popular for everybody out there. I mean, even if you want to give me 1 star and because you think I suck, please tell me why I suck so that we can kind of work on it and see where we go. But for the most part, we're getting good positive feedback, so we hope you're enjoying the show. We're kind of cruising along with our Alaska series a little bit. This is a little different take on our Alaska series, where here for the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've been talking with people that live in Alaska and full-time, and their craft is how they make a living up there and spend their time in the great wilderness of Alaska. But today, we're going to talk to someone who got to go up for his first Alaskan hunts this year and talk to him about what it took to prepare and some of the experiences he went through while he was there. And then some of the things he's thought about since he got back. Might be a little deep, but it's always a good time with Scott Bakken from HHA Sports. He's the marketing director there, and HHA, in my opinion, makes the best one-pin sight on the market. I'm sure they make other good sights, but I only shoot a one-pin, so I'm a little biased to the one-pin. But they are the leaders in one-pin, and I hope you have taken the time to check out their equipment and maybe drop a few dimes and put it in your hands and put it on your bow and check it out, because I think it's the easiest sight out there to get dialed in yardage-wise, and it's accurate, and it is stable, and it is super tough. I can tell you that, and they stand behind their sights 100%, which is also badass. And then they also got the new Virtus 22 drop away rest, which is also on my bow these days, and it surely rivals the rest of the competition hands down. I think they made some good improvements over the years. It's my understanding they built some of these sights a long time, or dropaways a long time ago, and didn't feel that they were worthy of the market, and then they came back around after a bunch of R&D and finally put something together that is definitely worthy of putting on your bow. So without further ado, Scott, how are you, man?
Good.
We've had a hard go getting on the screen and getting some audio going today, huh? It's been crazy.
Gotta love technology.
And you're kind of like no to technology, aren't you? You're
I
like
hate
no
technology.
no bueno.
Yeah, I hate
Well, I
technology.
can tell you, it's one of those necessary evils, I guess they call it, right? In this
Yeah.
day and age. But here we are talking to each other from all the way across the country. You're in Wisconsin.
Two
right?
time zones.
And
Yeah, 2 time zones.
Yeah, 2 time zones, right?
I'm I'm in the future. You're in the past. Or wait, or am I in the past?
No.
And you're in the
No.
future.
There you go.
Whatever.
Ooh. Oh, that was a tough one.
Yeah, that's too much to think about on a Friday.
No doubt. I agree with you there. So you just we've got to jump into this Alaska deal, but let's just go there real quick. You were just whitetail hunting. You just got back today. Jumped on the podcast with us. Thanks for that. Yep. Where were you at, and how would it go?
I've been on a 2-week stint. I started off here in Wisconsin and got my butt kicked for 6 days. And then I went straight from Wisconsin to Illinois, where I've been since last Friday. So I've been there for a week, and I got my butt royally kicked there. So it's been tough. It's been a really tough fall. It's been a weird rut, and, anticipation was really high this year because this is like the first time in probably, I would bet, a decade that we've had these types of cold temperatures. I mean, here in Wisconsin on Halloween weekend, we had almost 2 inches of snow, which I haven't seen that since I was a little kid. So, that just gets you fired up around here because, just cold weather, it just makes everything better as far as hunting goes. But yeah, man, the rut was just was tough. The lockdown was super hard. That's what we experienced all this week in Illinois. Just all the big mature deer, they were just locked down with those does, and they just weren't moving. It was, anytime hunting is awesome, and just seeing anything is great, but you can only see so many 2.5-year-old 8-pointers before you just start getting frustrated. And it's like, at some point, you just kept telling yourself at some point, like, that big one's got to bust loose and come by. And, I had my opportunity on Sunday, and it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, you sent me a picture of that buck. That's a heartbreaker right there.
Yeah, that was a kick between the legs. And, like I told you, what makes it even worse is the fact that it literally, like, it wasn't, like I told you, if it was my fault, like if I messed up, you misjudged the yardage, or, you just completely fluff, that's on you, right? But, I knew the yardage. I had my sight, dialed to the right yardage. I had time to actually adjust my dial. And, I was spot on. It was a perfect release. It felt awesome. And it just, right at the last minute, the buck dropped about 1.5 feet, which I've never witnessed a deer drop that much. But, he was an old deer, man. They're super in tune with their surroundings, and his will to survive beat my will to kill him. So it just wasn't meant to be. But, to have an opportunity, that's awesome. But, after the 2-week grinding, it was a long drive home today. Long drive home.
A buck with ninja skills.
He was.
Sounds like to me, yeah.
He was a ninja buck, and I come to the realization on the way home that I might take a year or two off from hunting and join like a professional laser tag team or something like that, and maybe I'll be better at that because this whole hunting thing isn't working out for me too well. So, but it's all fun. I'm being dramatic, but it's all fun. But it's just, it's wearing. I'm beat up, so I'm looking forward to a little time off to recharge, and then I'll hit it hard late season, and hopefully I can redeem myself. So,
yeah, you'll have another opportunity.
Yeah,
you'll create it. You're a good hunter. You'll create a new one.
Just need to find a little buck.
Yeah, we all need a little bit of that, don't we?
Yep.
That's for sure.
Yep.
The quick, not to take anything away from your podcast here, but let me tell a quick story. So when I shot my buck this year, I just happened to decide I wasn't going to go hunting for the evening, so I went and hung out with my family. But then on the way home, I got this wild hair that I was going to go cruise this little tiny patch of national forest, which is surrounded by private, but you can drive right through it. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to cruise up there because I'd seen some bucks, didn't really think we had time to even hunt. It was just one of those things, but let's go get a picture. Me and Naden, we're flying up the road. We get up close, so we start slowing down. We see these bucks cross the road. I cruise up. They walk over. They start feeding. I go up. I turn around. I stop. I grab my bow. I work my way back through the trees a little bit. Come around some quakies. There's a buck standing there. 2 of them. One turns his butt to me. The other one turns broadside to me. So I draw. smoke him. Big buck stands up out of the Quakies to my right. Big monster buck, of course, right? And all this happened. I was literally in this shirt, a pair of shorts, and my Crocs.
Dude, I'm telling
And
you,
I smoked a deer.
there's something like I think Crocs are probably my favorite hunting footwear. I've hunted in my Crocs more than one time, not on purpose, but I mean they get the job done.
I just, and so then I shoot that deer and I get it home, and then of course, unfortunately, doing that in the outfit that I had on now proved to my wife that I don't need Kuyu, and I don't need Sika, and I don't need any gear to kill an animal.
Yeah, she's misinformed. So, you need all that stuff.
I know. It was a fun joke through the evening.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get on with Alaska here. So you got the opportunity to go up to Alaska and do a couple hunts. Mm-hmm. It's not easy for you to get away from with your job and responsibilities. It's a lot to undertake. I'd really like to really dive in from the very beginning of the process to the end. Mm-hmm. And I know that you made a video with HHA about your preparation to Alaska, right? So, I mean, you put a lot of time and thought and effort into building this up to go. Right. And so I'm just going to kind of let you have the wheel here and just go for it, man. Anything you can remember, and and for the listeners, remember that they want to be there, they want to smell it, they want to see it, they want to feel it. So
yeah. I mean,
drive, boy.
I mean, the whole idea started three years ago, 2014. Actually, probably the end of 2013, when I decided I was at work, and I was literally looking out the window, and I was like reflecting back on the season and stuff. And I've always been a whitetail hunter. I mean, that's what I live in Wisconsin. That's what we do, right? But I was like, I'm getting. I think I just turned 30, actually. Anyways, something just sparked this idea in my head, and I was like, for as much time as I spend working out and exercising and eating healthy and stuff like that, like, I'm really meant to do more than just sit in a tree stand for 12 hours a day, Amen. And so
Amen
I started looking into Alaska, and just, I always thought Alaska was just, that was something that wealthy hunters could do, because I was like, I could never afford to go to Alaska. You know what I mean? Because you look at a guided moose hunt, I mean, you're talking 18 to 20 grand, right? So I just started looking into the do-it-yourself stuff, and like, I didn't even know you could do a do-it-yourself hunt in Alaska. Like, I always thought you had to go with a guide. And so I started.
Where did you look? Where did you start looking? I
started Googling it. I just Googled DIY Alaska moose hunt, and I mean, all these forums came up, like books. So I started buying all these books on do-it-yourself hunting in Alaska and stuff like that. And I mean, it was literally, I think it took me 3 days. I'm like, I'm doing this. And so I started researching all the ways to do it. And I'd reached out to a couple people that I knew that had been to Alaska. So yeah, it was literally, I mean, it was right then that the fire got lit, and it was just lit every day from that point. It was all about Alaska. Like, whitetail hunting didn't really mean anything to me anymore. Like, all I could focus on was Alaska. And I tell you, I mean, originally I wanted my brother and my dad to go with me. I thought it'd be an awesome hunt for the three of us to do, but they were like, well, that's 3 years. You never know what could happen in 3 years. And it's like, to commit to something 3 years ahead of time, that's a crazy like thought in itself. But I mean, that 3 years went by like that. I mean, I literally, it went from feeling like it was never going to get here to it was the week I was leaving. I'm like, holy crap. I mean, like, that 3 years went by like that. So, but I mean, that's kind of the cool thing. Like, we were talking about technology is, I mean, the amount of information that's out there, and there's a lot of resources to tap into. So like, the biggest thing for me was finding someone to help me plan the trip. So I actually hired like a hunting consultant or a hunt planner. His name's Larry Bartlett with Pristine Ventures. And that guy basically crowned like float hunting Alaska. I mean, that is his like deal. And I knew I wanted to do a float trip. I didn't want to do a drop clamp. I wanted to do a float trip. So it literally.
Why?
Just
Why? What?
I mean, just the adventure and I mean, the, I mean, I don't know, I want to say the danger factor, but just that was like the ultimate adventure. You know, you get dropped off at point A and then you have to
Okay.
make it to point B. Like I wanted to experience all that, you know. And after watching like a couple
Right.
YouTube videos and like watching Larry's videos and stuff, I was like, that's what I want to do. And you know, I didn't want to sit
There you go.
in a camp for 10 days, you know, staring at.
No, it's like it's too similar to sitting in
Yeah,
a
I
tree
mean,
stand. That's exactly like you
I wanted to
said.
explore, and I mean, it was like I think the first time, yeah,
Adventure.
and you know, and Larry, he has this, you know, he has a video. It's called you know, Terra Incognita, which is, you know, explore the unexplored. And I was like, I'm like, that's like the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, I want that experience. And he's like, you do? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, set me up with a Terra Incognita experience. And he did. I mean, he delivered everything. But I mean, he was huge. And I mean, he planned all the logistics with like bush flights and, you know, because that's a whole nother thing is, I mean, trying to arrange flights in,
Yeah,
flights
yeah.
out and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, man, it was, like I said, that 3 years went by so fast and it all seems like a blur now. But, uh, but it was awesome. So it was, you know, just in the preparation for it, like, you know, what gear do you get, you know, and like, I mean, it's like you start making out your list of stuff. And I mean, I literally started buying stuff, you know, about 2.5 years in advance, testing it out. And then I'd send it back if I didn't
Right.
like it. And then I'd buy new stuff. I mean, I probably went through 3 or 4 different tents, you know, trying to figure out, because I mean, the big thing is like for me is I wanted to do an awesome trip, but I still had a budget. You know what I mean? I couldn't just throw a bunch of money. I mean, if money was no option, I mean, you could do a hell of a trip with and be very luxurious. It was very weight restrictive. I was only allowed 80 pounds of personal gear. And that's food, hunting supplies, camping gear, all that stuff.
Holy
Yeah,
shit! Really?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
it?
yep. And so I mean,
For how many days?
15. Yeah,
What?
15 days
Ooh,
from when we got dropped off to picked up.
80 pounds for 15
Yep.
days. I don't think I'm surely not in the position to pull that off at
It,
this point in time with the gear and the stuff I have. I can tell you
it's
that.
tough. It was really tough. You know, you when you start compiling everything, you're like, oh, I need this, 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 and this. And then when you weigh everything out, you're like, damn, like I'm 15 pounds overweight. I'm like, all right, well, you know, do I really need, you know, like we didn't bring, it was me and a buddy of mine. And that was, I mean, to kind of back up a little bit. So the trip originally was going to be my dad and brother and I, and they basically were just like, that's too big that's just too
Not
much
gonna
for us.
happen.
And I was like, I get it, you know? So then it's like, all right, well, I got to find somebody to go with me. And a trip like that Terra Incognita trip, you can't just go with anybody, right? Like, I mean, I know a lot of
Right.
guys that are good hunters, but I need somebody that like I could depend on. You know, if I were to get severely injured, I'm relying on them to get me out. You know, so
Yep.
and it's
Yep.
in. I mean, it's a financial. I mean, it's a big financial responsibility, but also, I mean, getting the time off of work. You know what I mean? Like, so we left on September 5th, and I didn't get home until October. I think October 3rd is when I finally got home to Wisconsin. So I mean, it's a
Wow.
lot of time, and I mean that's kind of the cool thing though is that you can really customize your trip, right? So I mean, we did 15 days, but a lot of guys will only do 10 or whatever. So I mean, it that's the cool thing is you can make it what you want. I mean, if you wanted to do a 5 day trip, you could do a 5 day trip, you know. But
So does Larry tell you like where you're gonna pull out of the
yep,
river? I mean, does he really
yep.
break it down? I
He
mean,
sends you
really? Wow.
he sits
Huh.
down with you and he says, all right, what kind of experience do you want? Like, do you want the ruggedness and like the isolation? So like where we went, nobody had ever been before. We were the first ones to have ever go down the stretch of river that we went down. So like our first
Wow.
30 miles was truly unexplored country. There's never been a
Holy cow.
boot print in the sand on that river. And so we were the first ones to do that. As soon as he's like, I have the spot I've been trying to get into for like 15 years and I've never found the right group to do it. And I'm like, put us there. Like, we're your group, you know, let's do it. And it
Yeah.
was, I mean, I kind of like, like I kind of knew what to expect, but I mean, it was nothing. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, like we didn't
So
actually start hunting until our 7th day. Half our trip was just hauling all of our crap from one stream to another, just trying to get to floatable water.
because you were going to this new
Yeah.
area that hadn't been
Yeah, there's no way to
explored.
get dropped off on that
Huh.
stream, so we had to get dropped off at a lake with a stream coming out of there, and we floated down that stream and then portaged all of our crap up over 2 mountain ranges and over to the river that we were going to actually hunt. And it took us 3 days just to get over all of our stuff over there. And then once we were there, it took us another 2 days just to hit where we could actually inflate the rafts and start floating. Yeah, it was. I mean, it
It's
was wicked.
crazy.
It was wicked, and like
Now, was there? I mean, would you call that a complication, or was that to be
that was to be
expected?
expected. I mean, we knew we were going to have that
Okay.
portage, but it wasn't. I didn't know it was going to be that brutal. I mean, it was brutal.
Did it be that hard to
Yeah.
do? You mean like just the physical part of
Yeah,
accomplishing
when
it?
we actually
Right.
hit like the spot where we were going to cross, it was basically these 2 mountain ranges came down, and it was just a saddle. Like you just kind of snaked around, and you look on a GPS, you're like, oh, that's not too bad. We can do that. And when we started the first trip there, I looked at my partner Gene. I'm like, there's no way. Like this is impossible. And he's like, we're here. He's like, what else are we gonna do? I'm like, you're right. Like we have nothing but time. So
Yeah.
we took brought
Right.
one load over, and we made the trip back, grabbed another load, and it took us a full day just to get 2 loads over there. Then we camped, went back the next day, made 2 trips, camped, and then got up early the third day, went back, got the last of our gear, and then started working our way down the river. And like I said, I mean, it took us another 2 days to hit floatable water. So
Now you're restricted to your 80-pound personal load, and why is that?
the
Why?
plane that was taking us in, it was a really small, yeah, it
Because
was
of
a
the
small
planes,
plane. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Gotcha.
it barely fit 3 guys and all of our gear in there. Um, yeah, I mean, it was tiny.
You know which kind it was? What kind
It was
was
a
it? Do you know what
float
it
plane. I
was?
want to say it was a Cessna. I think it was a 185 with floats on it. I'm not 100% sure. But
Okay. Yeah,
then
doesn't really matter.
the
I'm just
plane
curious.
that picked us up was a Helio, so it was a much larger plane.
Uh-huh.
That landed on an actual like airstrip on a gravel bar.
Little strip
Yeah. So
right at the bottom.
yeah,
Yeah. So once you got over there and you got on the stream, I guess, right?
yeah.
So I mean,
It
you kind
was.
of streamed it into a bigger river, or
Yeah, I
I
mean
mean,
the river we started on was, I mean, it was, I mean, maybe 10 feet wide. I mean, it wasn't, it was a stream. I mean,
really?
it was a stream. And
How
like you
does
weren't,
but your raft and your gear and you actually still floated high enough in the
yep.
water to make it?
Yeah. So we each had our own individual rafts, and they were only 11 feet
Oh,
long by 3.5 feet wide. I mean, they weren't big
oh, I gotcha,
rafts,
gotcha.
but they were awesome. And Larry actually designed them. And I mean, they were the right rafts for that trip. I mean, they were awesome. And those things, I mean, it is amazing how durable those. Because that was one of my biggest fears, was either capsizing or puncturing a raft. And
Right.
I mean, those things could take a beating, and they did. I mean, we beat the living crap out of them. I mean, you beat the living
Huh.
crap out of everything. I mean, including yourself.
Right.
I broke my finger on the third day, so I had a broken finger the whole trip.
No
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
That
yeah.
sucks.
I didn't even know it until the next morning either. I woke up and my freaking middle finger on my left hand is going like 45-degree angles to the left, and I was like, "Well, that's messed up." And I was like,
Well,
"I
your
don't
hand's
know."
that cold or something that you couldn't feel
You
it?
just no. I mean, you just like it was. We were just so busy. Like, I mean, you were just getting your ass kicked. Like everything hurt. You know what I mean? So like your hand
Right.
being in pain wasn't like it was noticeable. I mean, your
Right.
hips hurt, your shoulders hurt, your hands were all swollen. Like everything hurt. So it was like, it wasn't until I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, that's messed up, man.
Something. Which one
So
of
that,
these is not like the other?
yeah, exactly. And it was funny because I showed it to Gene. He's like, oh God. I was like, what do I do? And so he popped it back into place, and then I just taped it with athletic tape and just kept on going. So it's
Gosh, man.
finally starting to heal up a little bit. But
Now, is that your bow hand or your shooting hand or
it's
your
my
release
shooting,
hand?
my release
It's
hand.
your release
Yeah.
hand.
So
Well, that's
holding
a
on to
little
a
bit
release.
more. Yeah, it's a little better than holding on to a bow, I guess. I don't know which is
But
worse.
but yeah, it was just I mean, sitting here thinking back, it's like trying to remember everything because, like those days of getting your ass kicked, I told myself like, 2 days from now, I'm not even gonna remember this because every day was a new obstacle. So like all that pain and suffering, like it went away like that. I mean, you
That's
never,
awesome.
I mean, you literally didn't think about it. But I mean, I will
Right.
tell you, I mean, I've been in the Rockies, elk hunting in Colorado and stuff like that. And I mean, the mountains out there are beautiful, but I mean, Alaska truly is like, I mean, it's something special. Like it doesn't seem real. Like when we first landed and got dropped off, I mean, I literally was like, is this heaven? Like it's an amazing place, but it's one of the loneliest places I've ever been. I mean, like
Right.
just being out there on the tundra and when there was no wind, there was no birds, there was no sound. And it was almost like it was so quiet, it was loud because all you could hear, like you could hear your heart beating in your head, like you heard,
Right.
it was weird, but it was like, it was actually kind of depressing, just, I mean,
Wow.
you're just staring into just nothing. I mean, it's just wide open tundra. And it's like, how does anything survive out here? I mean,
Right.
it's just
Especially
desolation.
once it snows, man.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
and I mean, imagine that lifestyle where every single day you're fighting to survive. I mean,
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't
No
know.
shit, huh?
Those animals are just, they're incredible. But yeah, that was, yeah, I mean, Alaska, I feel kind of bad because anybody I talk to, they're always like, how's your season? And it's like all I talk about is Alaska, but it was just, I mean, it was that epic. I'll be talking
Right.
about it for years until my next trip I go back. But so,
Okay, so you made it, so then here you are. You got 3 days of packing your crap. You finally get on the river. You start getting some floating done. You make it through 3 more days. You wake up on the seventh day, and here you finally have a chance to start hunting. And
yep.
What are you there to hunt?
We were primarily moose, but then we also had caribou tags. Um,
Hmm.
we were a little early for the caribou migration. We didn't see any caribou, but it was primarily moose, and and that was kind of like the cool thing is hunting a species that you know nothing about, and you're literally learning on the fly, and
Hmm.
so that was pretty cool. And we found some moose and some really really good bulls, but I mean every bull looks big when you see them, right? I mean, even the little ones,
Yeah.
they all look big. So, but yeah,
Right.
and we did find some really good bulls, and um, it was a huge learning experience, and it's nothing. I mean, just like anything, it's nothing like what you see on TV. Like I'm sure guys
Right.
experience where you make a one cow call and the bull just comes charging into the river, and they shoot him at 20
Yeah.
yards, right? I'm sure that, I mean, obviously that happens, but I mean, we had to work for every bull that we found, and we didn't find any on the river. We were always having to hike off the river, which is cool because you get to explore. But if you kill one, it sucks because then you have to carry everything back to the river. So I mean, we were at
Yep.
one point. I mean, our farthest we would hike is about 3/4 of a mile. We wouldn't get much farther than that, just because then you're just. I mean, you always have to be conscious of how much calories you're burning each day too. So like, I was probably burning close to probably 45 to 4,800 calories a day, but I was only taking in
Wow.
about 2,500.
Right.
So, I mean, I was never starving, but I was always taking in enough just to keep my body fueled. But I
Right.
mean, I wasn't full, and I mean, when
Well,
I
and
when
you and with that, you're not really in a full recovery mode either overnight
no,
or any given time. So you really, you can mentally sustain, but your body's slowly wearing out, and
right,
then your mind will follow after that. But
so,
um,
and like
but
I
when you
went
only got
in,
80 pounds, you only got 80 pounds. Shit,
yeah, I had a
I would
pound and
never
a
make
half.
it.
I had a
I'd
pound and
never
a
make
half.
it.
I had a pound and a half of food per day. So almost 30 pounds was dedicated, just under 30 pounds was dedicated to food. And when I came out, I packed one extra day of food just in case like we were to get stuck out there waiting for our pickup. But
Right.
that was the only food I came out with. I mean, my food kit was empty when I came out. So I had it planned pretty perfectly. But I went in I was 187 when I went in, to the trip. And then when I came back, I was 169.
That's what your body weight was when you
Yeah.
went in and out.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I can only imagine if you're 2,000 calories under every day, you're knocking fat off like crazy because you're sustaining a pretty good workout all day
oh
long
yeah.
working through tundra. I mean,
Yep.
it's not like you're being explosive, but all day long your heart rate's sitting at a 130,
Well, you're and
120.
it's even the floating, it's funny when I tell people about the trip, like they think it's just like, when you go to a water park and you sit in an inner tube and you're floating, lazy river. And I'm like, I mean, we were like, I mean, it was a struggle every day on that river. Like, I mean,
Right.
you were never just kicked back and relaxing. I mean, you were literally, if you took your eyes off the river for like 2 seconds, you were in trouble. I mean,
Right.
you were
Wow.
always having to make corrections. And I mean, we got into some serious rapids, and that was the scariest part of the trip was, the last,
I was gonna ask you if there was a scary part.
that was the scariest part. There's two stretches of river, one on the small stream, and then one on the big river, that the confluence river that we came out on, where, I mean, the pucker factor was real. Like I said, my biggest fear was capsizing, and
Right.
I honestly, looking back, so I mean, to jump ahead, we weren't successful. We didn't harvest anything. We had some close calls, but I couldn't imagine tackling like those stretches of water with our rafts packed down with meat. I don't know if we would have gotten out safely, to be honest. I mean,
Wow.
it was real. Like it was pretty crazy. So
You know, there's I mean, hunting's hunting. I mean, it's it's easier for me to swallow to go out here in Colorado, my home state, and go hunt and not get something and whatnot. I mean, it's still an investment, obviously, but not anything like rolling up into Alaska. I mean, even though you did did it yourself, and and you worked through and spent 2.5 years collecting your deer and getting things right. I mean, it's still an investment to
right.
get there and do that, to come home without any meat. But tell me what it did for you, your soul, what it did for you as a man, how it put some life in perspective, maybe.
It definitely, being in that type of like situation and that type of like environment, I mean, where like literally every day you were focusing on, the tasks at hand, and like, going into the trip, I I went into the trip expecting not to fill a tag. One, because it was my first time doing it. I don't know anything about moose hunting. I'm a whitetail hunter, but it wasn't, that's not what the trip was about. Like the trip was truly about the adventure and exploring an area that's never been explored before. Like that was the success. And
Absolutely.
the main goal was tackling that stretch of water and making it back safely. Like that was the most important thing, was getting out safely. And but I mean, it definitely, it changes everything. And like now, like you being there, and you just witness, like, I mean, the beauty of Alaska, and what God created and stuff like that. I mean, you realize how unimportant so many things are. And like for 15 days we had no contact with anybody, so we were completely just isolated. So like we were gone during like the Las Vegas shooting, we were gone during all the hurricanes. We had no clue what was going on in the world. And
Wow, right.
when you come back, and all of a sudden you just get walloped with all this like just flood of all this crap going on, and it's like, man, like you realize, one, just how messed up the world is, but two, you realize just like what's really important to you. You know what I mean? Like,
You're right.
I mean, it really changes just how you look at things, day to day. And it's like, I think what I got out of the trip the most was just, it really changed like my mental like attitude towards not only hunting, but just life in general. That like, as bad as you think things are, they can always be worse. and you have two options. You either succumb to that and you give in, or
Right.
you knuckle up and you grind through it, and you come out tougher and more knowledgeable. So it's definitely changed how I've looked at stuff. And even it helped me huge through these last 2 weeks whitetail hunting. When you're pulling all day sit and you want to whine and complain and be like, man, it's noon, I haven't seen anything, I should just get down and just call it quits. But then,
Right.
you tell yourself, well, I'm here, and, if I survived 15 days in Alaska, I can sure as hell survive, 7 days of sitting in a tree stand. So,
Right.
but I mean, it's truly like, there's just something so pure about, like, not only Alaska, especially Alaska, but just a trip like that. Like, it truly is like, it's just pure. Like, it just cleanses you. And like, when you have nothing to do but, like, float and hunt and work and all this crap, like, at night, you would just lay in the tent and all you had to do was time to think, and, or like, if you were sitting in glass and all you had to do was time to think. So, there was tons of time to, like, reflect on, all kinds of stuff. And it's like, it definitely changes you. And I'm sure it's different for everybody. But like I said,
Yeah.
the biggest thing for me
Right.
is I just realized, like, how unimportant certain things are. And, it's just, like I said, every day is, a struggle. It's just, how do you want to go about
I'm
it?
sure it is a test of your mental ability, capacity, your grit, your
Hmm.
attitude every day,
Yep.
right? It's it's hard to disconnect
Right.
from the world and go just be in that moment, right? To just this is all you got. This
Right.
is it. You got
Right.
this. You got these two guys, or this guy and me and rafts, and this is the only way out. Like,
Right.
it's got to be something. When I think about it for myself, I think it's a little scary. I
It
mean, I
is.
I'm surely one for adventure, but it's through this Alaskan series we've done, I've surely taken a real self check on the fact that I'm a total pansy, right? It's like I can go rock the Rockies and I can go do a lot of cool shit, but when I start talking to more people from Alaska and people that go there, I'm like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to really be on my game, and I may have to figure out some different mental strategies, if you will, and
Right.
try to figure out how to be that.
Right.
And I think you can practice that even here, right? It's, take 3 days. Take an emergency contact device or whatever, but take 3 days and literally go soak that up and don't talk
Right.
to nobody. And then
Right.
make it 5 days, and then make it 8 days, and then make it 10 days. Because it definitely tests whether you're cuckoo or not, right?
Well, and just the fact, like, you realize, just when you're at home, in your day-to-day life, like, how much, you know, like, kind of, like, just how spoiled you are.
Right,
And,
exactly.
there, like, there's no hot, we had hot water, but we didn't shower for 15 days. I wore the same clothes for 15 days. You know what I mean? So now,
Right,
like when I got home, I was like, I don't need to shower every day. Like, I just went 15 days without showering. You know what I mean? Like, you just, like,
right.
again, you realize just, like, how much stuff in your daily life you can really do without,
Yeah,
and get down to the
waste.
just get down to the raw basics, and
Right.
but that was, that's like a mental thing in itself. Like, you realize, like, oh my God, I'm going 15 days with just this small batch of equipment. And it's like, okay, like, you only have, when you're there, you have one option, and that's make it to your, extraction point. Like,
Right.
there was no, there was no, like, calling on day 5 and being like, hey, this sucks, can you come get us? That wasn't an option.
Right.
One, there was no way for anybody to get to us, but two, it wasn't an option. We were gonna make it to the extraction point no matter what. So,
And I think you
um,
got to go into the trip that way, don't you? You got to,
yeah,
even if you have a halfway point where you could get jerked, you really got to go into it the right mental attitude that you're going to the end,
you're
right?
there. That's why you're there. Like,
Right.
you didn't go there
Yeah,
to half-ass anything.
that's
You
right.
give every day 110% until the very end. And, again, it's easy it's funny how it just all relates. Cause like, again, looking back at this week of whitetail hunting, Thursday was my last day of hunting in Illinois. And I sat all day till noon. And then I actually had to get down and switch stands because the wind was switching directions. And so I went back to my truck, drove around the farm, got to where I was going to head in for the evening. And I'm like, I didn't see jack squat this morning. I'm probably just going to waste my time tonight. And it's like, I should just go back to the cabin now, pack up and head home, But then I was like, then if I do that, I can't look you in the eye and say I gave it 110% every day. And I can honestly say prior to Alaska, that probably would have been what I would have done. But after going through all that, I told myself, like, you can't say you gave 110% if you don't finish it out. So I went and I finished it out, and I think I saw a young buck with a couple of does, and that was it. So it was like a total bust, but at least now I can say that all week I busted my ass and I gave 110% every day. But like I said, prior to Alaska, I would have bailed early. I would have gotten the truck, drove back to the cabin, sat and watched TV for the rest of the afternoon, Yeah, so it definitely, a trip like that, I think any trip, you take so many things away from it. So
out of your Alaskan trip, out of the things that you could control of your trip, is there anything that you would have changed? Looking back on preparation or the planning of the trip or the execution and or coming home or, through that whole 28 days, was there anything that you would change that you had control to change?
I don't know. I guess I can say, like, when I go back next time, I probably won't do like a 15-day hunt again. That's just a long time to be away. And that the trip that we did, we needed that amount of time, but I think I would cut back the days a little bit and try to spend more time hunting and less time, portaging and hauling gear, stuff like that.
Go somewhere that had direct access, someplace that had immediate hunt, immediate float, and that kind of thing.
But on the flip coin of that, though, is like a trip like that, you're probably going to end up going someplace where people have been before. You know what I mean? So you weigh it out and just what's your goals of the trip. But, I keep telling myself, like, cause I took a bow, my buddy took a rifle. I would probably bring a rifle next time.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, that was probably one of the coolest things, was just like literally seeing all my preparation like be successful. My gear list was spot on. There was a couple items I brought that I didn't use, but
what were those? What did you bring you didn't use?
Well, like I brought
rubber chicken.
Yeah, the blonde and redhead wigs. We didn't use those. But no, like, I brought two recharging packs, for charging electronics. I only needed one. So that would have shaved quite a bit of weight there.
Yeah, they're heavy. I'm rolling a Goal Zero just to charge my phone in here. And it's a tank.
Other than that, like I said, everything was pretty. Everything else is pretty spot on. If when I do the trip again, I'll probably prepare the exact same way.
Did you keep a list of your? Did you do that? Did you make a detailed list of what your final pack was? That's cool.
I had every item. I had it organized by category. I had all the weights. So I knew what the total weight was of every item.
Nice. I'd love to have a copy of that, because I'm hoping to make it to Alaska here sometime soon, and I don't know if I'll be doing a float or not, but all the same.
It's a good start, but everybody's like, talking to other guys after the trip, their list was completely different than mine. And that was like, it actually would have been an awesome trip for somebody to document, because my hunting partner and I, we had two completely different, like, we took two completely different approaches to the trip as far as how we packed gear, and neither one of us was like right or wrong. Mine worked for me, his worked for him, and we both came out the same. The outcome was the same. But
What
so
was one
like,
of the major? What was one of the major pieces that were different between the two of you, if you can recall?
so basically it came down to organization. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the items that we brought, I brought the bare basics. Like I didn't bring anything like glamorous or like extravagant or really luxurious. Like, I mean, I had the bare basics where, he had brought some more comfort items. He
Mm-hmm.
brought more clothes than I did, which, he didn't use. He brought more food than I did. So he had a lot of extra food left over. So, for me, that was all wasted weight. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, like I said, it worked for him. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I had just organization basically when it came down to like, you know,
Gotcha.
at night I had one bag that was my sleep kit and my clothes. So I had one bag that I brought in the tent with me. He had, multiple smaller bags, so it was just two different
Mm-hmm.
approaches. Like when we packed our rafts, I had 6 bags on my raft. He had, 10 or 12 smaller bags. It was just,
Right.
I mean, it was just
So you
organization.
so you went for the larges, right, or the XLs, and he was pushing a bunch of mediums.
Yeah.
How he
And
packed himself, huh?
I didn't even use like that large of bags. I just made sure whatever I put in those bags would fit. If it didn't fit in that bag, then I wasn't bringing it. Um,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
so like
That's
that
yeah.
kind of approach.
Like if my
So,
clothes don't fit in this, then I got to
yep,
figure out what I don't want.
yep. And I guess, now that I think about it, the one thing I would do differently too is I brought a 15-degree sleeping bag. I would definitely bring a 0 degree. That was kind of
Would you?
the it wasn't a screw up, but I severely underestimated. Like, I mean, it gets freaking cold at night there. So, I mean,
Did it?
I survived. I just had to sleep in more layers than what I probably needed to if I would have had a 0 degree. But it all worked out fine. So, but yeah, I'd bring a zero
Um,
degree this time.
that's good to know. And what? Yeah, and that was through September, right? So
Yeah, September 8th is when we flew into the river. Yeah, September 8th is
so
when we flew into the river,
last
and then
half.
we got picked up on like the 23rd or the 24th or something like that. So yeah, we were there for most of September. But I mean, like
Um,
when we landed, I mean, it was 70 degrees and I was in short sleeve t-shirts. And then 3 days later, it was snowing and, sleeting. And I mean, the weather was just crazy there. But I'll tell you, the two most important pieces of gear where if you're going to do a float trip, so anybody that's planning on doing float trip, do not, I mean, you can only buy what you can afford, right? But save and spend the money on Sims waders, get guide boots and guide
okay,
waders. I mean,
gotcha.
that's your lifeline. I mean, that was probably the most, I was so impressed with the waders and the boots. I mean, you live in them, you're in them 16 hours a day. And the boots
Right.
were, I mean, they were awesome. And then a good tent. Like, so I brought a Seek Outside Red Cliff tent, and it was freaking awesome.
Yeah, you like that Seek Outside tent,
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, yeah,
huh?
it's a badass tent.
And it's a
Lightweight,
that's
super. It's a teepee
yeah,
style.
light
Yeah, floorless.
TP style. Mm-hmm.
Yep,
And there's
yep.
no stove. Obviously, you were weight restricted to take a stove. That's
I
why you went
brought a
0 degree
stove.
bag. Did you?
I brought a. Yeah, we did bring a stove, but we didn't. We only used it a couple times. We if we didn't have to use it, we didn't use it.
Gotcha.
Um, because I mean, it was kind of a pain in the butt to set up. I mean, the tent took no time at all to set up, but having to assemble the stove every time, and it was noisy because it was all sheet metal. Here you are in this really quiet, like beautiful place, and then you have the sound of sheet metal, crackling and wrinkling, and so it kind of. But
Right.
um, but yeah, I mean, those are probably the two pieces of gear I was most impressed with, and the rafts, of
So
course. But I mean, those were kind of out of our control. So
so so you're really happy with Larry's job and helping facilitate and plan this trip for you. And
yeah.
um, was there anybody else along the way that played a major role in you getting to Alaska
Oof.
and getting to go on this adventure?
That question could get me in trouble if I don't answer it right.
I put you on the
No, I mean,
spot.
I'm honestly a lot of the information like I either got from Larry or just research and experimenting on my own. Um, I mean, obviously, I mean, you can't. give enough credit to Larry and like what he did as far as like, I mean, the whole trip was because of him. I mean, without him, the trip would never would have happened. And I mean, our pilot that dropped us off, Andy, I mean, he was freaking, I mean, he flew us through some nasty crap to get us to our drop off. And
Right.
I mean, he did. I mean, those pilots, I mean, they're crazy. They literally are
They are
crazy.
crazy, aren't they? We had Ben
Yeah.
Knapp on here. We had Ben Knapp on the show.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
go back and listen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I did
awesome.
listen. Yeah. And even the pilot that picked us up, I mean, that dude was, I mean, he was nuts. I mean, the dude was fearless. Like, I mean, the gravel bar he landed on, I mean, you never in a million years would I think you could fit a plane on that freaking gravel bar, and he
Right.
did it. And yeah,
Yeah,
so I mean,
they.
those, it's worth the money to pay, for good pilots and good organizers and stuff like that. So
So, what did you have into this hunt financially to go up there and do this 15-day float? Do you have a round
so
figure that you can?
yeah, I mean, just for the logistics, so you have to pay, Larry for his services, and then you got to pay, your pilot dropping you off, your pilot picking you up, licenses, just that. Like, I don't count gear and all that stuff because
Yeah, you'll
that's
cross utilize that across the board.
exactly.
Right.
I mean, that's amortized over years. All said and done, it was just, I think it was about $6,500 just for the trip itself.
Right. Which,
Um,
which in comparison, like you mentioned earlier, from 18 to 20,000 for a moose hunt, and maybe you'd have more guarantee for that money, but
oh, your success
but
rate
that,
it's doubles, but
yeah,
like
but it's not perfect,
no, and it's not
you know,
like I mean,
and
if I
it's
could
not
if I could
adventure.
afford it, if I could afford it, I probably would do a guided moose hunt, but I don't feel like I would get as much out of it as I did. And
Right.
yeah, I didn't kill one, and a lot of people are like, well, you spent $6,500 and you didn't come back with anything, and it's like, well, if you want to look at it from that perspective, yeah, I didn't punch a tag, but I came back with way more than a huge rack and meat. I mean, I would have loved to have some moose meat right now, but
Yeah.
I mean, the knowledge that I gained and the experience, I mean, that was worth every dime. And
So,
I would drop that cash again for an experience like that and the knowledge.
so now, do you have the Alaska bug? Are
Oh,
you?
I'm hooked. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
already booked to go back again. So,
So next year, couple years,
uh, 19 hopefully.
in
Yep,
19,
yep,
couple years,
yep.
right
So
on.
two more years. So,
Yeah, I'm
but
kind of concerned about that for myself
that's
if
I
I
mean
go there.
yeah, it is addictive and just I mean even like I mean if like I mean just taking your family there and stuff. I mean Alaska's just cool. I mean there's scenery nonstop no matter where you are, but
Right.
I mean I will say like I mean Alaska, I mean obviously doing trips like that are becoming more popular. I mean they're already raising their tags. They doubled their tag price January 1st of this year. So I mean they're catching on that they have something, and I mean, it's just going to get harder and more expensive. So, I mean, do it while you can.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel you.
and I mean, there's a lot more stuff you could do. Like, I mean, a moose and caribou hunt. I mean, it's an expensive trip no matter what way you shake it. But like, you could do a Sitka blacktail or something like that, and it's cheaper. So, there's this. I mean, that's the thing with Alaska. It's just a game-rich environment. I mean, there's just always something. There's something to hunt everywhere. So,
Right. Yeah, I think starting with the caribou idea is kind of where it's at for me, and see
yeah,
where it goes from there. But
yeah,
I've got a few connections on the whole goat thing, and which when I look at some of that kind of stuff and think, man, I'm kind of scared of heights, man, and I don't like. I don't know if I can
yeah.
pull that shit off. I don't know. But I think it's something that I'm going to work through here
Right,
this year. I'm going to practice doing some more stuff and putting myself in and building that confidence and
yeah,
taking that fear away. I think
right,
that's something you got to do.
yeah.
So now, so you've had a bummer season. You went to Alaska, put in the time there. You've been on these whitetail hunts, and you weren't successful. And you know, but like you said, you came back with a lot of good stuff from that hunt, and you learned
Yep.
some more things about who you are there, which played a role in the woods for you here in tree stands. And what else you got coming up for the possibility of some harvest?
Right now, I mean, for the rest of the year, it's just, I still got a Wisconsin tag. I still have an Illinois tag. So, late season, rifle season starts here tomorrow in Wisconsin. So, I'm going to take the rifle season off and get caught up on some stuff at work and kind of recharge the batteries. And then I'll hit late season pretty hard. So just keep working on punching those tags and then, try to figure out what I'm going to do next year.
I know as far as HHA is concerned, I mean, you're going to get a little bit of downtime here, but not really. You're starting to ramp out for show
Oh
season,
yeah.
and it's going to get a little bit crazy for you.
I mean,
Um,
we just came off a selling season, which is nuts. And I mean, we get, Thanksgiving's kind of our like rest time because once December hits, it's it's balls to the
crazy.
wall. Yeah, getting ready for show season, getting ready to unveil new products, getting the new catalog going, and
Right.
it's ready to get pretty Western here soon. So
So how are you going to shake it up then? What's the marketing manager going to do to shake it up this year for HHA?
hire someone to do my job for me so I can hunt more.
You need
um,
an assistant. I need to
yeah,
hire an assistant.
yeah. No, we have some good things coming. Just some new ideas with, how we're gonna go about like, our marketing for next year and stuff. Like we've been pretty traditional, up until, through this year. So next year we're gonna take some different approaches with some different things and, just trying to flip over some different rocks and just try some different things and see how they work out. So,
Well, I
but
think that from some of what some from looking outside of the box, looking in, HHA has done some amazing things in the last year. Their growth is getting after it. You guys are doing it. The products you guys are putting out are fantastic. So, your growth and success is through your hard work and dedication. And so, I think as you approach some of these new strategies and getting involved in some different ideas, which are
hmm
kind of moving you into more of the newer age and some different
right.
things, that I just can't imagine that it isn't going to promote more success. So, you know, I'm I'm looking forward to seeing how it works for all of you. I've gotten, you're a good friend of mine. You're not just a podcast that that we're just throwing out there. I mean, me and you talk a lot. We
Yep.
we we visit. We keep track of each other some, and so I'm really hopeful for your guys' success. It's going to be pretty cool.
Yep. I mean, we're just gonna keep at it and keep grinding away. And I mean, it was a tough year this year. I mean, archery retail is. I mean, it's struggling, but I mean, just keep your head up and just keep doing what you have to do. And I mean, that's really our only option. So we'll keep going that route. Like I said, trying to shake things up a little bit here and there, and you know, then we'll just. I mean, whatever happens, happens. So.
Right? How do you think archery in a whole is sustaining at this point? Do you guys feel that the numbers are growing in newbies, or where are we at? What do your guys' analytics tell you?
I mean, from everything we're seeing and talking to other manufacturers and stuff, I mean, participation in archery is definitely on the decline. I mean, you talk to, I mean, look at like Illinois and Wisconsin. I mean, just license sales have been down. I mean, they've been on a downward spiral for the last couple of years. So, I mean, participation we're losing participants. But I mean, a lot of it, I mean, there's all kinds of factors, but
Right.
I mean, we just talked about this the other day. I mean, we're not picking up any of the younger generations. And I mean, honestly, I mean, archery's, it's just getting so damn expensive to, get involved with it. And I mean, we're just as guilty. I mean, our sites are not
Right.
cheap and we know that.
No.
And
Right.
we're very conscious of that. So going forward, we have to be mindful of that in the products that we come out, not going for the ceiling all the time. Try to get products
Right.
out at a reasonable price that, the average Joe working class guy can afford. And I mean, that's I think where we're losing the participation is at that mid level and, the younger generations. So, but I mean, I think I think it's one of those things where everybody's aware of it and nobody's just burying their head in the sand. I think, as you talk to more manufacturers in the industry and stuff, everybody realizes like, hey, like, we kind of gotta all band together on this and try to like, change things so we can get more participation and build that, hunting army that, we need to keep keep things going and, battle the antis and stuff like that. So.
Right. So, and one of the things the HHA does and what Wilderness Attitude does is we support Pope and Young.
For sure.
Right. That's a major part of who we are, in supporting our national bow hunting club and helping them move forward with their ethics and their conservation, and they're continuing the record keeping and trying to promote them. And you guys, HHA is a big sponsor for Pope and Young, right? And
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of major industry players that are a support of Pope and Young that people may not even know. But definitely looking into Pope and Young and learning more about what they're about, right?
Right.
I think is a good place to start.
That was huge for us to, like go to the Pope and Young convention in St. Louis this year and stuff like that. I mean, and just really get down to, what Pope and Young is about. And I mean, it's a great organization. And I mean, it's definitely an organization that, I mean, if you bow hunt, I mean, you should definitely be part of Pope and Young. And I mean, I'm kind of embarrassed to say that up until this year, I wasn't a member, but I am now. And I mean, they're definitely one of my favorite organizations now. And, there's just there's a lot of good organization out there fighting, for not just for archery, but I mean, for hunting, and
yeah, true.
I mean, it's just vital for, the future generations to, have the rights that we have now.
Yeah, it'd be really good if you can get industry or, across the industry for everybody to get along as well and
right.
help support one another and help drive this, the message that we all feel very compassionate about in our hearts and our soul, right?
Right.
And I think that lays an important value in
right.
moving forward as well. So,
well, and I mean, the bottom line is, I mean, the archery industry is my livelihood. So, I mean, right. the worse the industry does, I mean, that affects my quality of life, so.
Yeah, it's different for me. I mean, it's my passion, right? It's
right.
my therapy. It's important to me. There's no doubt
right.
about it. Sharing these stories and these messages and who I am and being open and honest and moving forward and through everything that I'm doing in my life that has to do with the wilderness. It's important. It's important for everybody, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It should be.
Yeah, for
it
sure.
should be.
right. Yeah, absolutely.
So, what can you leak anything to us about what HHA's got going on? Nah, see, I thought I'd just called to ask you. I didn't figure you'd tell me nothing.
No, but should have caught me like an hour or two from now, and you might have gotten a little more out of me. But
I'll text you later.
No, I could tell you, we're going to continue to promote the hell out of the Virtus Arrow Rest, just because I mean that was a home run for us this year, and we kind of struggled in the beginning to deliver, so we're going to tighten up some bolts on that, and next year we'll be able to 100% fulfillment rate on that, and we do have a new product for 18. If I can leak anything, it won't be anything too surprising, but I think a lot of people are going to be really happy with what we come out with, especially, the mom and pop shops and stuff like that. So we're pretty excited about it. I've been testing it for the last 2 weeks, and I'm pretty impressed with it. So, so we're looking forward to unveiling that. So.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be cool. Yep. I finally got my local archery shop here to carry your stuff. That's awesome. Been a bonus, and it's working out great. He's like, well, he kind of hemmed and hawed. We spoke about that before, some of the earlier design work and stuff that he'd come across, and now it's working out really well. And I just think the product speaks for itself.
Thank you.
I can't say enough good about it. I love my sight and my drop away. I am even trying to sell one of my bows right now, and and I had one guy look at me and he's like, "Well, I don't think it's worth $800." And I said, "I got $500 worth of crap on there just from HHA. I mean, give me a break." And he's like, "Well, I mean, I could put my other rest on and my other sight on." And I'm like, "Well, then go buy a different bow, because this baby's set up to kill, man."
Yeah, yeah, you got the deadly combination there.
It's working out pretty good. I
That's
don't know why
good.
I'm selling it.
Yeah. Just
I
because you
don't
have
know.
to have something new every
Yeah,
year.
I'm just a bow whore, right?
Yeah, you and me
So
both. You and me both.
speaking of a bow whore, he's right here. Greg Mum just walked in on me. He's a bow whore. No, he's a glass whore.
I'll whore anything. Any kind of gear, I'll whore.
Yeah. He's the one. If I need to know anything about glass, and also, I mean, he is a walking Bible of information. It's pretty
Oh,
amazing. I mean, we need to he needs to have his own podcast, to be honest.
just
So
like
Scott,
that.
I thank you so much for your time, man. It's really good to
Absolutely.
see you. Good to hear
You
about
too.
your adventure, and I hope that your late season hunts are successful. I look forward to getting some pictures from you,
Yeah.
and in the meantime, some fat and happy poses over Thanksgiving.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
oh, by the way, I was told you're gonna moon me when we opened this show.
That
Thank you
was
for not doing that, because I'm sure
yeah.
you're. I don't think everybody wants to see that
I
on
don't.
YouTube.
I don't
I'll
think
see it.
anybody. I don't think anybody would want to see that either. And remember you told me how I was kind of grumpy like when at the beginning of all this. So
Yeah.
that was during my grumpy phase. But I'm not grumpy anymore. So I don't feel the need to show you my butt anymore.
Okay. Good. Well, I'm
We'll save
glad that I'm.
we'll
I'm
save
glad
we'll
through the
save that for the
podcast.
on today. Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks for having me
great.
on. It's always a pleasure to talk and bullshit with you and you know.
We'll touch base some more after your late hunts, and then also after the first of the year when you guys
Yeah.
start
We'll
dropping it
do.
like it's hot over at HHA. We'll come back and check in with you again and see how life's treating you.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Thanks, Scott. I sure appreciate you,
Thank
man.
you. Yeah,
Take
have a
it
good
easy.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. Bye. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. I sure hope you're enjoying them. These series on Alaska have been great. I appreciate every one of you as a listener. I hope you guys are enjoying what we're doing. I don't get a lot of feedback, so I need you listeners to go out there. I need you to blow me up here a little bit. I need you to blow up my email. I need you to blow up reviews, iTunes, Podbean, our website, whatever. Get a hold of me and tell me if we're 2 thumbs up or if we suck, because we're going to continue to do these segments of areas and places and people and different things in the wilderness and the outdoors, and we want to know what you're thinking. We want to know what you want. This podcast is for you, the listener. It's for you to enjoy when you have the time, and it's for us to empower you, give you information, give you, adventures and stories, these men and women who live in the spirit of the wilderness, no matter what they're doing. So hit me, would you? Hit me with your best shot. I want to know what's going on out there. This is Brandon Waddell, your host of Wilderness Attitude. Thanks for tuning in.